You're being robbed.
and you don't even see the thief. Forget income tax. Forget sales tax. We're talking about something far more insidious, a drain on your finances that never appears on your payslip. No politician takes credit for it, yet it's silently siphoning your savings, shrinking your purchasing power, and mortgaging your future. This is the hidden tax of inflation. It's the oldest trick in the book, a secret weapon governments have deployed for millennia. Inflation is the quiet destroyer of wealth. It devours your hard-earned savings, turns your stable income into a treadmill, and orchestrates a massive, invisible transfer of value from you, the ordinary citizen, to the state and the financial elite who understand the game. It is the most politically convenient form of taxation ever invented, because it doesn't require your consent. Here's the cold, brutal truth. Inflation is not a natural disaster. It is a policy choice. It's a deliberate mechanism, a way for governments to fund their appetites without the political suicide of openly hiking taxes. Look back at Rome. The mighty Roman Empire paid its legions with silver denarii, the gold standard of the Mediterranean. But war is expensive. Instead of facing furious taxpayers, emperors discovered a shortcut: debasement. They'd reduce the silver content of the coin, mix in cheaper metals, slap the same image of Caesar on the front, and pretend it was business as usual. At first, it worked. But eventually, the coins became lighter, thinner, more copper than silver. Prices skyrocketed. Trust in the currency collapsed. The economy withered. Rome's money was systematically debased, a hidden tax on every citizen imposed without a single public vote. The empire fell, but the trick survived. Fast forward to revolutionary France in the 1790s. The government, desperate, printed paper notes called assignats. They looked innovative, but as the state printed more and more, the value evaporated. Bread riots erupted in Paris. Farmers refused the paper. Families watched their life savings turn into pretty wallpaper. The government hadn't raised taxes, they had simply inflated the money supply, executing a silent theft from every person who trusted the paper. And then there's Weimar Germany, the ultimate cautionary tale. Crushed by debt after World War I, the central bank printed money non-stop. By 1923, people were paid twice a day because their wages lost value by the hour. Housewives sprinted to buy food before prices doubled by evening. A loaf of bread cost billions of marks. A lifetime of savings was utterly obliterated. The hidden tax had become outright confiscation. Here's the terrifying part. Governments around the world studied these disasters and learned not that inflation was dangerous, but that it was incredibly powerful. Inflation is the most politically survivable tax because when governments borrow, spend, and print, they are effectively paying back old debts with devalued money. The hidden tax simply erodes their obligations. Creditors suffer, savers suffer, but the state avoids the immediate political pain. You don't get an inflation bill in the mail. You just notice your rent is higher, your gas is pricier, and your salary doesn't stretch as far. That is by design. During both World Wars, Britain used this tactic. They financed massive military campaigns, not just through taxes, but through controlled inflation. The Bank of England printed, prices crept up, and ordinary citizens silently shouldered the cost. The 20th century is littered with similar stories. When President Richard Nixon severed the dollar's link to gold in 1971, the last genuine restraint was cut. Fiat currency, money backed by nothing but faith, became the global standard, and inflation became the quiet, constant normal. Think about your money today. You put cash in a bank account earning 1% interest, but inflation is running at 5%. You are losing 4% of your wealth every single year. That loss isn't a void, it's a transfer. It moves to borrowers whose debts shrink in real terms, to governments whose deficits are easier to finance, and to asset holders whose real estate and stocks climb while your cash rots. It is a redistribution scheme masquerading as economics. In 2008, when the global financial system nearly exploded, what did governments do? They bailed out banks by printing trillions. They called it quantitative easing. For Wall Street, it was salvation. For ordinary savers, it was a stealth tax. Asset prices, stocks, real estate, luxury goods soared while wages stagnated. The hidden tax simply changed form, showing up not in consumer goods immediately, but in assets. The wealth gap widened dramatically. Then came 2020. The pandemic hit, and governments printed on a scale never before imagined. Stimulus checks, bailouts, corporate rescues, all funded by digital money created out of thin air. By 2021-2022, the inflation dragon was unleashed. Energy bills doubled, food prices surged, housing costs spiked. Once again, the winners were those with hard assets. The losers were the middle class and the poor. Inflation was the tax nobody voted for, but everyone paid. Look globally. Argentina, Zimbabwe, Lebanon. Decades of overspending and currency collapse have systematically wiped out the middle class. The pattern is always the same. Inflation punishes the trusting, the passive, and the savers. It rewards the prepared, the liquid, and the asset holders. Economists will try to spin it. They'll tell you 2% inflation is healthy. Don't be fooled. So-called good inflation still means your savings are melting slowly in the background. It's erosion, a hidden tax. The difference is only speed. So, how do you protect yourself? History provides the blueprint. In Rome, survivors held real silver and gold. In Weimar, those with foreign currency or land weathered the storm. In the 1970s, those who held hard assets, real estate, commodities, preserved wealth as cash went up in smoke. The government will keep using this weapon because the alternative, raising taxes openly, is politically suicidal. They will tell you inflation is temporary. They will insist it is under control. They will change the way it's measured. They will invent new technical-sounding terms like modern monetary theory. But the reality remains. Inflation is a tax. It's the oldest, most effective, and most unfair tax in human history. The next time prices rise and politicians shrug, remember, it's not an accident. It's a policy. And it is you who pays the bill. If this gave you a new perspective on how your money is really working, hit that subscribe button and join the conversation. The answers aren't hidden in the future. They're written in the past.